Hello students, today we start with dynamics. In my previous lectures, I had covered two topics of statics, that is resultant of coplanar forces and centroid. Now, as in some of the colleges, dynamics may be in the term test 1. So I'm starting with the first chapter of dynamics. To begin with, first we'll understand the dynamics, how it is classified, and how we are going to learn. We have been studying the dynamics even at previous level also, but many students are not clear with the concepts of dynamics, what needs to be, what care should be taken, and there are various other basic things which are not clear to many students. Now, to begin with, we'll first understand, just look at the screen now. First is we understand what is dynamics. Dynamics is the branch of mechanics which deals with the study of bodies or particles which are in motion. Dynamics is studied under two heads. One is kinematics, another is kinematics. The basic difference in kinematics and kinetics is what? In kinetics, we deal with the motion of objects without considering the forces which cause the motion. That means in kinematics, forces are not directly considered in the analysis. Whereas in kinetics, deals with motion of the objects with due consideration of the forces which cause the motion. So that means we can say that kinematics is the motion of the objects without forces, kinetics motion of the objects with forces. Kinematics and kinetics are further classified as kinematics of particles and kinematics of rigid bodies, and kinetics of particles and kinetics of rigid bodies. That means kinematics or kinetics both can be for the objects with the dimensions, or both can be for the objects without dimension. So if the kinematics is for the objects without dimensions, it is called as kinematics of particles. And if kinematics of rigid bodies means what? Here we consider the motion of the objects with the dimensions but without forces. Now we come to the kinetics classification. Kinetics of particles means what? Here we consider the motion of the objects without dimensions and with forces. Kinetics of rigid bodies means what? We consider here motion of the objects with the dimensions and with forces. So this way, the entire dynamics is studied under 4 chapters: kinematics of particle, kinematics of rigid bodies, kinetics of particle, and kinetics of rigid bodies. To begin with, we start with the first chapter, kinematics of particles. What is kinematics of particle? We again understand. Here we deal with the motion of the objects without dimensions. Without dimensions is what? Without dimension means what? For particles. And motion without forces causing motion. So forces, see, motion is the consequence of application of forces acting on a body or particle. But in kinematics, we do not consider the forces directly into the analysis. Now, motion of the particle can be along the straight line. If it is along the straight line, what do we call it as? Rectilinear motion. What do we call it as, students? Rectilinear motion. If the motion of the particle is along the curved path, we call it as curvilinear motion. So in this chapter, we will be covering rectilinear motion. And in the next chapter of dynamics, we will be covering curvilinear motion. So now we'll understand classification of rectilinear motion. Once again, I repeat that in this chapter, we will cover rectilinear motion of a particle. Now, rectilinear motion of the particle can be at uniform velocity, it can be at uniform acceleration, or it can be at varying acceleration. So in this part, in this lecture of mine, I'll cover rectilinear motion at constant velocity, which we have been studying from very lower standard, and we'll consider rectilinear motion at uniform acceleration or constant acceleration. This part also we have studied at even at previous level also. But yes, certain basic concepts students are not clear, which we will be clarifying, and you all will understand how easy is the dynamics and how you need to start learning. Now, students, we talk about rectilinear motion at uniform velocity or at constant velocity. If particle is moving along the straight line at constant velocity, then we can say that velocity is equal to displacement upon time. What we can say? Velocity is equal to displacement upon time, or we can say displacement is equal to velocity into time. From very lower standard, say 7th, 8th standard, we'll start learning rectilinear motion at constant velocity. So velocity is displacement upon time and displacement is velocity into time. Our next level of learning comes rectilinear motion at constant acceleration. This also we study to some level at our previous standard also. Now, if the rectilinear motion, if the motion of the particle is at constant acceleration, then we can apply three equations of motion. First equation of motion with usual notations, V is equal to U plus AT. Second equation, S is equal to UT plus half AT square. Third equation, V square is equal to U square plus 2AS. Now, what are the different notations? With usual notations, V is final velocity, U is initial velocity, T is time, A is acceleration, and S is displacement. Mind it that it is displacement. It may be equal to distance or may not be equal to this distance. So in basic equation, S stands for displacement. All right. Now, students, now this part which I'm talking now, this is very, very important because many students are not clear from the previous levels that how to select the equation. It is not difficult. It's very simple. How do you select the equation? Let's understand. If V and T are into consideration, V and T, V is final velocity and time are into consideration. Consideration means what? Either they are given or they are unknown. Then we prefer to use V is equal to U plus AT. If V and S are into consideration, we prefer to use V square is equal to U square plus 2S. And if V is not into consideration, we prefer to use S is equal to UT plus half AT square. Students, if we remember these 3 points, then our job becomes simple. We do not apply unnecessary equation, and it is very important not to write the equations which are not required. The next point, units in dynamics. This is again very important. Students, when you solve the problems of statics, normally data given to you is in uniform manner, in the sense that forces are given in Newton or in kilonewton. Distances are given in meter, centimeter, or mm. But in dynamics, it is not like that. In dynamics, different set of the units are there in the problem. So we have to make a habit of solving the problem in the identical or uniform units only. Like anytime, whatever they give in the problem, you'll take displacement or distance in meter. You'll take time in seconds only. Let them give in hours or minutes, whatever it. Velocity or speed will be taken in meter per second. You'll take acceleration in meter per second square. You'll take mass always in kg, not in grams. Similarly, force will be taken in Newton. And mind it, you cannot take force or weight in dynamics in kilonewton, because when you are solving the problem statics, both the units of force are prevailing. One is Newton, another is kilonewton. So you need to use, remember that force, when you are solving the problem of dynamics, force will always be taken in Newton. Now, students, we are ready to start solving the sum. We are ready to start solving the sum. I'll cover all types of the problems. Total 13 problems will be covered in this lecture on rectilinear motion at constant acceleration. Of course, rectilinear motion at constant velocity will also be part of the problems. Now, the first problem, let's first read it. In an Asian Games of 100-meter event, an athlete accelerates uniformly from start to his maximum velocity in a distance of 4 meters and runs the remaining distance with that velocity. If athlete completes the race in 10.4 seconds, that means total running time is 10.4 seconds. Determine his initial acceleration and his maximum velocity. Well, student, most important point that any problem which you want to solve from this part of the dynamics, that is rectilinear motion at constant acceleration, need to put the data on a diagram. How will you put the data in diagram? By reading the sum, it should come to our mind that motion is in 2 stages. First stage of the motion is at constant acceleration. First stage of the motion is at constant A to B. And second stage of the motion is at constant velocity. Now see that. Now A is the beginning when it starts from rest. In 4 meter time, the particle attains maximum velocity. That is at B, velocity is maximum. And then he maintains that velocity till the complete of the race. Total event is of 100 meter. A to B, when motion is at constant acceleration, distance covered is 4 meter. And 100 minus 4 is the distance covered in the second segment from B to C. Now, students, we always write the heading from where to where you want to apply the motion. Total distance is given 100 meter. You are also given that total time of the race is 10.4 seconds. Now I'm saying that T1 is the time period of the first segment, T2 is the time period of second segment, A1 is the acceleration that is equal to A for first segment. In the second segment, acceleration is 0. Now motion from A to B. This segment of the motion is at constant acceleration. Students, when you are solving the problem, you need to adopt the sign convention. How do you adopt the sign convention? Normally, we take sign convention positive in the direction of initial motion. That means initially particle starts in certain direction. In that direction, we should ideally take as positive. So when I'm taking motion from A to B, sorry, towards right is positive. So initial velocity is 0, that is velocity at A. V is V maximum. S is the displacement covered from A to B, distance covered is 4 meter. Acceleration of the first segment of the motion is A. Now students, can you see that here V is into consideration? What is? V is into consideration. If V is into consideration, then we should apply the equation V is equal to U plus AT. V is velocity at B, that is V max, U is 0 at A into T1. A is acceleration of first segment of motion. So T1 comes V max by A. Then we should also apply V square is equal to U square plus 2as. V stands for V max, U is 0, 2A into S. S is S1, that is distance covered in the first segment of the motion, that is 4. So you get A is equal to V max square by 8. All right. You got T1 as V max by A. Substitute the value here as from 1 and 2, you can arrive at the value of T1. How you can arrive at T1? You have got T1 in terms of, so A has been eliminated here. How A has been eliminated? See, we want T1 in terms of Vmax. So A from the second equation is Vmax square by 2. This is substituted over here. So then you get T1 as 8 upon Vmax. All right. Now we come to motion from B to C. From B to C, motion is at constant velocity. Constant velocity is Vmax. Displacement or distance covered is 96 meter. Displacement distance will be same during rectilinear motion as long as particle is moving in same direction. Like in this problem, as the particle is moving in same direction, displacement distance will be same. So motion from B to B. If it is uniform velocity motion, then displacement is S2, velocity into time. Displacement for the second segment of motion is 96 meter, Vmax into T2. So T2 comes out to be 96 upon Vmax. But we understand that total journey or total time of the race is 10.4 seconds. That means T1 plus T2 is given to you as 10.4. Substitute the value of T1 from here. Substitute the value of T2 from here in this equation. Then you get the value of maximum velocity. What is the maximum velocity attained by the particle at B? Then once you have got Vmax, you want to find acceleration. What is acceleration? From second equation, Vmax square by 2. Substitute the value of Vmax and you get the value of A. This is what is asked in the problem. Here, students, I have written a note. What note I have written? It's very important when you are solving the problem of rectilinear motion at constant acceleration. You need to adopt the sign convention. Sign convention should be adopted and it should be taken as positive in the direction in which motion initially starts or direction of initial motion. Okay, students, we are ready to take up problem number 2. All of you, we need to read the problem. An automobile starts from rest traveling on a straight path at 2 meters per second square for some time, after which it decelerates at 1 meter per second square till it comes to halt. If the total distance covered by is 300 meters, find the maximum velocity of the automobile and the time of travel. Well, again, students, once we have read the problem, we understand that motion is in two segments. What are the two segments? First segment is accelerating motion. Second segment is decelerating motion. Automobile starts from rest and it comes to rest. So I have drawn a straight line. At point A is the beginning where I say velocity is 0. At point B, it is end of accelerating motion where velocity is maximum. At the end of deceleration motion, velocity of the automobile is 0. So this I'll have indicated now. I do not know what is the rate of acceleration, rate of deceleration. I don't know what is the distance covered in the accelerating motion or decelerating motion. What are the time periods of accelerating decelerating motion? So I've simply assumed that. What is S1, A1, T1? S1 is a displacement covered in first segment of the motion. S2 is the second segment. Similarly, A1 is the rate of acceleration. A2 is the rate of deceleration. T1 is the time period of accelerating motion. T2 is the time period of decelerating motion. So motion from A to B is accelerating motion. Motion from A to B is accelerating motion. We took towards right as positive. As you can see that U is 0, V is V maximum. All right. So final velocity is given or into consideration, right? What is acceleration of the first segment of the motion is plus 2 meter per second square. We write V is equal to U plus AT. V is V maximum, U is 0, 2 into T1. T1 comes V max by 2. V square is equal to U square plus 2S. V is V max, U is 0, 2A S1. S1 is V max square by 4. So this way we applied two equations of motion which are applicable here. Now we talk about motion from B to C. When we talk about motion from B to C, again we took sign convention towards right as positive. Initial velocity this time is V max, because at B velocity is V max. And final velocity V is 0, S is S2, and what is A2 is -1. Acceleration during second segment of the motion is -1 meter per second square. Now V is equal to U plus AT. Again, as final velocity is into consideration, we'll again apply V is equal to U plus AT. V is 0, U is V max, acceleration is -1. You got T2 is V max by. V square is equal to U square plus 2S, final velocity is 0, U is V max, acceleration is -1, so -2 into 1 into S2. You got S2 Vmx square by 2. If you read the problem, he has given that total distance covered is 300 meter. What does that mean? S1 plus S2 is 300. S1 plus S2 is 300. It is given, right? S1 value is from here, you'll substitute. What is that? Is Vmx square by 4. And S2 value you'll substitute from here, Vmax square by 2. If you solve this, you get Vmax as 20 meter per second. Value of Vmax, if you substitute in this equation number 1, you get T1, that is 10 seconds. And if you substitute the value of T2, Vmax in equation number 3, you will get T2. So this one, T1 and T2 are arrived. What is total journey time is T1 plus T2. What is total journey time? T1 plus T2, that comes out to be 30 seconds. Now we come to the next problem. Again, students, we should read the problem first carefully. Very important in dynamics, you should read the problem carefully so that you understand the problem, you put the given data on the diagram, and then you start solving the sum. I'm reading the sum. Two cars start towards each other from stop X and stop Y at 1:36 p.m. First car reaches stop Y traveling 8-kilometer path at 1:44 p.m. Second car reaches stop X at 1:46 p.m. They move at uniform velocity. Minded that both the cars are going to move at uniform velocity. Determine their time of meeting and distance from stop X. Student, I've shown it in the diagram. This is my car A. Its velocity is constant. What is that is given to you as 16.67. How we arrived at this is 16.67, that is given here. Now two cars are 8,000 meter apart. This is car A, which is moving at constant velocity. Car B is also moving constant velocity. They are moving towards each other so that they start simultaneously, they meet simultaneously. The running time available to meet will be same. Running time available to each car will be same, but they are moving at different velocity. So distance covered by them will be different, but total distance will be equal to 8,000 meters. Now, first we come to motion of car A. At car A, he has given that it started from stop X, all right, and it reached stop Y, covering 8,000 meter distance. Total time to cover 8-kilometer distance is 8 minutes. How we got 8 minutes? 1:44 it reached, 1:36 started, 1:44 1:36. So difference is what is 8 minutes. 8 minutes means what, students? 8 into 60, that comes out to be 480 seconds. So what is the velocity, uniform velocity of car A? Total distance upon total time, that is from 8,000 upon 480, 16.67. Now, same thing we talk about car B. Car B moves to the left. But total distance covered by it from stop Y to stop X is 8,000 meter. Time available to it is, it reached at 46, started at 136. So that means it took 10 minutes time. It took 10 minutes time. Now the distance is 8,000 and total time is 600. So its velocity is 13.3. So this way we got the uniform velocity of each car. Now in the diagram we have shown VA is 16.67, which you got it here. Velocity of B is 13.33, which is moving to the left and it's constant. We are assuming that both the cars start simultaneously, they meet simultaneously. So running time for each car will be same, that is say T. We are assuming that both the cars meet at after time T at this point. We assume that distance covered by car A is XA, distance covered by car B is XB. So XA at the time of meeting, XA plus XB is 8,000. XA plus XB is what? Is 8,000. All right. Now, what is XA? It is moving at constant velocity. So XA is going to be VA into T. XA is what is VA 16.6. And similarly, what is XB is VB into T. XB is what is VB into 13.33 into T. From equation number 1, XA is 16.67. All right. And XB is 13.33. Substitute the value of XA and XB, you'll get the time T. Then distance from position A is of car A is XA. XA is VA into T. VA is 16.67 and T is 266.67. So total distance covered by car A from initial position is 4445.4 meter. Move to the next sum. Okay. Again, students, we need to read the sum. This time I've taken motion of two cars which are moving in the same direction. They start simultaneously and they meet after some time, after 8 seconds, one car overtakes the other. Now let's read the sum. Two cars A and B traveling at a constant speed of 170 kmph. Car A is leading car B by 36 meter at t is equal to 0. So that means car A, again we have shown the data on diagram. Car A is here, its initial velocity is 170. Car B is 36 meter behind. I mean, car A is ahead of car B by 36 meter. So we have shown their initial positions. Car A is ahead of car B by 36 meter. Their initial velocities are same. What it says that knowing that when B passes A, t is equal to 8 seconds and VA is 220 kmph, find the acceleration of A and B. Students, now after 8 seconds, car B and car A are at same position. That means we can say that car B has overtaken car A, or both the cars are meeting at this point, where at that instant velocity of car A is 220 kmph. All right. Distance covered by car A is say SA. Distance covered by car B is say SP to reach this point A dash or B dash. Now motion of car A. Why should I start? We can understand the relationship between the distance covered by each car. Car B has to cover 36 meter more than the distance covered by car A. Time available to each car is same, that is 8 seconds. Now, why we decided to take the motion of car A? Question arises that why I started with the motion of car A? Because students, data given, more data is given about car A. You are given with the velocity of car A when car B has overtaken car A, or when the two cars are meeting. So when we take motion of car A, its initial velocity will be 170 upon 3.6, that is 47.2. All right. And what is its final velocity when it is in this position? 220. 220 upon 3.6, 61.11. What is time? 8 seconds. Now, as students, final velocity is given. V is into consideration. We apply V is equal to U plus 80. V is 61.11, right? U is 47.22. A is acceleration of car A. I have 10 into 8. So we get AA. acceleration of car A. This is one of the unknown. As V is into consideration, I'll prefer second equation. V square is equal to U square plus 2S. V is 61.11. Initial velocity of car is 47.22. Acceleration, we have understood it is plus 1.736. SA is arrived. What is SA arrived at, students? You get value of SA as 433.23. Now we have understood at the instant when car B is overtaking car A, distance covered by car B is SA plus 36. Right? What it is? At the instant of car B passing car A, SB is equal to SA plus 36. So SA is 433.32 plus 36, SB is arrived at. Now motion of car B. Motion of car B, its initial velocity is same, 47.22. Final velocity is not given, not asked. Time taken by car B is 8 seconds. Distance covered by is 469.32. So at this stage, students, car final velocity of car B is not into consideration. So we should not use V is equal to U plus AT, or we should not use V square is equal to U square plus 2S. Rather, what should be preferred? S is equal to UT plus half AT square. It is very clear about the selection of the equation. Since final velocity of car B is not into consideration, so we prefer to use S is equal to UT plus half AT square. S is what it is in the problem is 469.32. Initial velocity 47.22, time is 8 plus half into AB into 8 square T square. You get acceleration of car B. So this way we arrive at the acceleration of car B. Students, in this type of the problems, when the two particles are moving towards each other or both are moving in the same direction, one of the most important parameter in this type of problems will be formation of the relation between the distance traveled by two particles. Like in this case, SB is equal to SA plus 36 is the relation between the distance traveled by the two. In the previous problem, since both were moving in the opposite direction, right, towards each other, so some of the distance traveled by the two automobiles was same. Some of the distance traveled by the two was was a total distance what was initially between the two. So this way we arrive at the distance between the distance traveled by the two particles. Then we solve the sum. Now, after this, students, we will be moving to the problems of rectilinear motion under gravity. These four problems which we have discussed were the rectilinear motion at constant acceleration, right, but not under gravity. Now, when we start solving the problems of rectilinear motion at constant acceleration due to gravity, you should take acceleration if it is not given in the problem as 9.81 meter per second square. It should be taken as what? If it is not given, if acceleration should be by mistake, it is written in the book as right now in the 9.8. Actually, it is not 9.8. What it has to be 9.81 meter per second square. All right, this is small correction. You can mark it. I'll just again point it out that what I've written, acceleration should be taken 9.8. It's not 9.8. We should take it up 9.81. This is a small correction in the problem. And obviously, acceleration due to gravity is downward. So we of course will be taking, if in the problem it is given, sometimes they give it 9.8, sometimes they give it 10 also. But if it is not given, or most of the time in university examination, they write it in the beginning in the instruction, only take the value of G as 9.81. So you will see that in most of my problems, the value of G has been taken as 9.81 meter per second square. So this is a small correction which is left out in the PPT. So now we'll move to the problems of acceleration under gravity. Okay, students, now we take the first problem of acceleration under gravity. I'm reading the sum. A stone is released from the top of the tower. During the last second of its motion, it covers 1/4 of the height of the tower. Find the height of the tower. Some extra we have covered what was not asked in the examination. Also find the total time of fall and velocity with which the stone hits the ground. Now, we have covered, now if we have drawn a diagram, it's drawn. Here we consider h as the height of the tower, which is covered in time t second. We also consider that h1 is the height of the tower covered in t minus 1 second. Then h minus h1 will be the distance covered in tth second. See here, student, total journey time is not given. Total time t is not given. Suppose assume that t is 20 seconds. So he is asking you to find out distance covered in 20th second. How do you get the distance covered in 20th second? You'll find the distance covered in 20 second minus distance covered in 19 second. That will give you the distance covered in 20th second. Student, that is what is going to be our approach for solving the sum. Now here we are considering that h is the height of the tower which is covered in t second. h1 is the height of the tower which is covered in t minus 1 second right from the beginning. Then h minus h1, which will give you the distance covered in last second. All right. Now we apply equation of motion from A to P first. S is equal to U, V is equal to U plus AT. We applied. V is VB. U is 0. 9.81 into T. We have also applied S is equal to UT plus half AT square. S is H. U is 0. Half AT square, half GT square. You get it. Similarly, if you apply motion from A to C, then S is going to be H1 and time is T minus 1. So you got distance cover, height of the tower in terms of T. You got distance covered in T minus 1. What is given in the problem? Distance covered in last second is given to you 1/4 of the total distance. 1/4 of the total distance, so 1/4 of the height of the tower. So it is given H minus H1 is equal to 1/4 of H. Substitute the value of H, half GT square. Substitute the value of H1, half GT minus 1 square, and 1/4 of H value substituted. If you solve this equation, it becomes a quadratic equation. If you solve this quadratic equation using your calculator, you get two values of T. One value of T comes out to be 7.464 seconds. Another value is negative. So student, negative time period is never considered. Remember that while solving the problems of dynamics, negative value of T is always discarded. So you will consider, you'll understand that T is equal to 7.464. That means at T is equal to 7.464, particle stone touches the surface, ground, touches the ground. Now you want to find height of the tower. How you get height of the tower? Just substitute the value of H into this equation. Number 2. If you substitute the value of G and T in equation number 2, you'll get the height of the tower. Then you get the velocity of V. Velocity when it hits the ground, you get it V is equal to U plus AT. How do you get it? U 0, 9.81, substitute the value T, you get the velocity with which it hits the ground. Actually, in the problem, he had asked only the value of T, but these two parts we have got extra. We have got extra height of the tower, we have got velocity with which the stone hits the ground. That is also extra working we have taken. All right. We are ready to move to the next sum, students. That is our question number 6. This is all problems, remaining problems, what I'm going to discuss in this lecture are going to be rectilinear motion at constant acceleration due to gravity. Now, in this problem, two objects A and B are dropped from the top of the tower of height h at different time intervals and reach the ground at in T1 and T2 respectively. Find the ratio of T1 and T2 if the object A travels 50 meters in the last second of flight, while object B travels 70 meters in the last second of flight. Student, if you refer to the diagram and the solution of the previous problem, what do you find? H minus H1 is half GT square minus half GT minus 1 square. It is given for object A, H minus H1 is 50 meters. So just I'll substitute that. Refer to previous problem, H minus H1 is half GT1 square minus half GT1 minus 1 square is 50. If I solve this equation, I get T1. Okay? Abhi same way I come for object 2. Distance covered in last second is given to you here 70 meter, H minus H1. Again, I wrote H half GT2 square minus half G. T2 minus 1 square is equal to 70. Again, I get the value of T2. He is asking me to find the ratio of T1 and T2. So T1 upon T2 is 5.6 upon 7.64, 0.733. All right. So in this problem, we have used the diagram as well as the small working from the previous sum. Now we come to question number 7. This type the problems are also asked many times in the examination. I am reading the sum. Water leaks from the ceiling 16-meter height at the rate of 5 drops per second. Find the distance between the first and the second drop when the first drop just touches the ground. So first drop is, we need to analyze the first drop. All right. Now I have drawn the diagram. This is ceiling, this is ground or the floor level. Water drops are leaking from the ceiling this way with initial velocity. When the drops come out of the ceiling, it will have zero velocity. It will have zero velocity. Now, first we need to analyze the motion of drop A, right? Drop A is covering distance of 16 meter. All right, its initial velocity is zero. Its final velocity is not into consideration. So when we take motion of drop A, I should take downward positive. Why I have taken downward positive? The initial motion is happening in the downward direction. S is the distance or displacement covered by drop A is 16 meter, initial velocity 0, half into G is 9.81 as it's not given, into TA square, you got TA. TA is the time taken by drop A in touching the ground surface. Now, next statement, as the frequency of drops is 5 drops per second, time gap between the two consecutive drops will be 1/5 seconds. 1/5 means delta is 0.2 second. What delta t is 0.2 second? How do you understand it? He says in the problem that frequency of drops is 5 drops per second. That means in 1 second, 5 drops. So time taken by one drop. See, 5 drops per second is what time taken by one drop will be 1/5 seconds. So that becomes basically the time gap between the two consecutive drops. So time available to the next drop will be 1/5 seconds less. See, drop A has taken 1.806 seconds. Drop B will take 1.5 seconds. I mean 0.2 seconds less. You can see here. Motion of second drop B. Again, we take downward positive. Time of drop B is TA minus delta T. TA is 1.806 minus 0.2, 1.606. S is equal to UT plus half AT square. S stands for SB. U 0, half into 9.81 and T 1.606 square. 12.6. Distance between the two consecutive drops is this part. You got SA is given 16 meter, SB you got it here 12.653. So SA minus SB is going to be the distance between two consecutive drops. Substitute the value of SA, substitute the value of SB, you get the distance between two consecutive drops. Let's move to the next sum, students. Right. Now, this type of problems you must have studied even at previous level. Also, we learn. We'll read the sum. This kind of the problems. A stone is dropped into a well. It's hard to strike the water in 4 seconds. Find the depth of the well, assuming the velocity of sound to be 335 meters per second. First of all, to solve this problem, we should remember that sound moves at constant velocity. We should remember what? Sound moves at constant velocity. Here we are assuming that T1 is the time taken by the stone to touch water surface. See, when the stone is dropped, it takes some time to touch the water surface. Then sound is created. Then T2 is the time taken by the sound to come up. Motion the stone is under gravity, stone is dropped. S is the H is the height of the drop depth of the well. Final velocity with which it hits is not into consideration, so we should write S is equal to UT plus half T square. S is H, U is 0 plus half GT squared, right? T1 is the time taken by the stone to touch the water surface. On simplification, H becomes 4.905 T1 square. Then we talk about motion of sound. Motion of sound is upward, so we take upward positive. Sound moves at constant velocity. This is very important. As sound moves at constant velocity, displacement is velocity into time. So H is equal to 335 into T2, 335 T2. The two values of H can be equated to get relation between T1 and T2. We also understand total time. Total time is given to you as 4 seconds. The sound is after the stone is dropped, sound of splash is heard after 4 seconds. That means time taken by stone to touch the water surface plus time taken by the sound to come up is 4 seconds. So here T1 plus T2 is what it is, student, is 4 seconds. Now we equate 1 and 2, that is two values of H are equated. So you get a relation between T2 and T1. Value of T2 is substituted in this equation, you get its quadratic equation for T1. Solve this equation, you get value of T1 as 3.79 seconds. Another value of T1 must be negative, which we have discarded. This value of T1 is substituted over here in equation number 1. You get the value of H. H is nothing but depth of the well, you can call it as, or so. Okay, students, we are ready to move to the next sum. I've taken sufficient number of problems in my lecture so that concept should be clear. The mistakes what you have done at previous levels should not be repeated in this type of sum. You should understand that S is the displacement. All right, as long as particle is moving in the same direction, displacement and distance will be same. All right, displacement and distance will be different only when the particle has retrace the path. Already particle has retraced the path. In this problem, we'll start understanding. So far the problems what we have taken in 8 sums, you had seen the displacement distance in all problems was same. Why it was same? Because of the reason that particle was moving in the same direction. Now, I'm reading question number 9. A stone is thrown vertically upwards and returns to the starting point at the ground in 6 seconds. Find out the maximum height and initial velocity of the stone. See, we have drawn again a diagram from the ground. The stone is thrown up with velocity u. It goes up to the height h. When it goes up to the height h, how long it will keep on going up till its velocity becomes 0. Then it will start falling. All right. Now, we can write the motion of stone from A to A. Why we can write it from A to A? A to A in the sense that, see, during this rectilinear motion at constant acceleration due to gravity, see, the essential condition, we should remember that essential condition for application of the equations of motion is that acceleration should be constant. So when it is thrown up or it is going up, acceleration was 9.81 meter per second square downward. When it was after attaining the 0 velocity, then it again started falling, and it starts falling along the same vertical line. Just for better understanding, only we show it through the different line. All right. Now we write motion, upward motion, positive. I'll write here S is equal to ut plus half at square. S is 0. Why S is 0? I'm considering motion from A to A. That means back to A, right? Its displacement is 0. Why displacement is 0? I'm considering motion is starting from A and it comes back to same point. So there is no displacement. Final position and initial position are same. Initial velocity is u and acceleration is minus. In this type of situation, when you are applying the equation of motion in totality, then acceleration should be taken based on initial direction of motion. Acceleration should be taken based on initial direction of motion. When you solve it, you get initial velocity as 29.43. You come to know that if the stone is thrown with the velocity of 29.43 seconds, it comes back to the ground in 6 second time. You want to find the height, what was attained by the stone. Then we can write here v square v square is equal to u square plus 2s. V is the velocity of the stone at v0. All right. U is the initial velocity 29.43. Acceleration is minus 2 into g. Why minus? Since we are taking upward positive, but acceleration due to gravity is downward. So you get height of the height what is attained by the stone. All right. We take the next problem, number 10. This type of problems are also asked in the examination many times. Let's read and understand the sum. A particle falling under gravity. A particle falling under gravity travels 25 meters in a particular second. What do you mean by, students, particular second? Particular second means 1 second. Particular second means what it is? 1 second. Which 1 second? We do not know. Which 1 second? We do not know. Find the distance traveled by it in the next 3 seconds. Find the distance traveled by it in the next 3 seconds. Now, student, suppose we consider that particle was dropped from some point over here. Then it starts falling. And then it starts falling. I'm considering that u is the velocity I'm considering that u is the velocity at the beginning of that certain second. I'm considering that u is the velocity of the particle at the beginning of that particular second. So I'm considering that velocity of the particle at a is say u. All right. And he says that it covers 25 meter in particular second. I do not know it is which second he's talking about. So I'm considering that u is the velocity at the beginning of that certain second, and 25-meter distance it covered in 1 second. He says that find the distance traveled in next 3 seconds. I'm assuming that in next 3 seconds distance covered is h. So first, students will take motion from A to B. When we take motion from A to B, I took downward positive. Distance covered is 25 meter. Acceleration is of course due to gravity. All right. So I wrote s is equal to ut plus half at square. S is 25. Initial velocity is say u at A. U into t plus half gt square. You get initial velocity at the beginning of that certain second. Now, students, you can take motion from B to C or you can take from A to C. I have taken motion from A to C directly. What is the advantage in that? You don't need to find the velocity at B. You don't need to find the velocity when you take the motion from A to C directly. Acceleration is constant. Initial velocity you already know. Time period is known to you. 1 plus 3, that is 4 seconds. Again, you write s is equal to ut plus half at square. S is 25 plus h. Initial velocity is 20.095 into 4 plus half gt square. H comes out to be 133.86 meter. All right. This is the distance covered by the particle in next 3 seconds. Now we have taken, now next problem what we are taking, students. This problem, please understand it carefully because it is a lengthy sum and I have covered various concepts are covered in this problem thoroughly, where you'll understand the difference between displacement and distance also. You'll also understand the direct method, which where you know that we have already covered in the previous problem also, but to some extent here we'll be discussing at length. All right, we'll read the question number 11. From the top of the tower, 49.05 meter high stone is projected upward with a velocity of 19.62 meter per second. Find number 1, the time required for the stone to reach the ground. Number 2, time required to reach maximum elevation. Third, maximum elevation. Fourth, velocity with which the stone strikes the ground. Fifth, the time required for the velocity to attain a magnitude of 9.81. Students, we have drawn the diagram. We are now, this is the tower of height 49.05 meter. From the top of this tower, a stone is thrown vertically upward at 19.62. How long this stone will keep going up? How long will the stone will keep going up till velocity becomes 0? Then it starts falling and finally it hits the ground at C. So initially we'll take the motion in stages. Initially we'll take the motion in stages. First, I'm taking motion from A to B. At A initial velocity, I'm taking upward positive. Initial velocity U is 19.62 plus V is 0. Right, V is equal to U plus AT. Acceleration is minus, you got T1. T1 is the time taken by the stone to reach point B where velocity becomes 0. All right. Then we write as final velocity is 0 or V is into consideration, V square is equal to U square plus 2S. V is 0, U is 19.62, acceleration is minus, you get H. H is 19.62 meter above A. This is maximum elevation from the top of the tower. Now we take motion from B to C. From B, particle starts falling down with 0 velocity. Total distance covered by it will be H plus 49.05. H plus, so B to C, S is equal to UT plus half it square. If applied, S will be displacement 49.05 is the height of the tower plus 19.62 is H. U is 0 plus half GT2 square. You get the value of T2, that is 3.742. You can get the velocity with which the stone hits the ground. V is equal to U plus AT. V is VC, right? And U 0 plus 9.81 into 3.742 T. Value of T2 we have substituted, we got 36.67. That means 36.7 meter per second is the velocity with which the stone hits the ground. Now, what is going to be total time from A to C is going to be total time what the stone has taken from A to B and plus B to C. That means T1 plus T2. This comes out to be 5.742 seconds. Now, students, if you want to find velocity at c, or if you want to find uh, the total time from A to C, or you want to find velocity with which the stone hits the ground, we can apply the motion directly also. Motion from A to C can be considered directly as acceleration due to gravity is constant throughout. I had already discussed in the last sum of mine that when stone is going up, then also acceleration is 9.81 meter per second downward. That is from A to B. And even from B to C also acceleration is 9.81 down only. So that means during the entire journey, whether it is upward or downward, acceleration due to gravity is constant, that is 9.81 meter per second square down. So we will get the total time what stone takes when stone touches the ground. Motion from A to C. I'll write upward positive as initial motion is upward. S equal to ut plus half a square. In this problem, you have to take position of C with respect to A. You are taking upward positive, but C is not in upward direction. C is in opposite direction. C is below A by 49.05 meter. You are taking upward positive. So S displacement or position of C with respect to A is 49.05 minus. Why minus? You are taking upward positive and it is below A. Initial velocity is 19.62 into t minus half gt square. Acceleration is taken based on initial direction of motion. If you solve this quadratic equation, you get t is equal to 4.72 seconds. It is the same what you got it by splitted motion. Initially, just for better understanding, better concept, first I took up splitted motion from A to B and then B to C. Then in this part, I have shown you directly how you get motion from A to C can be taken directly to get the total time from A to C. Or even to find the velocity at C, you can again apply V is equal to U plus AT. V is VC, U is 19.62 initial velocity at A, minus is acceleration due to gravity. Since we are taking upward positive, it is minus into time. You get minus 36.71. Minus is indicative that velocity at point C or after this much time of 5.742 seconds is not upward, it is downward. What is that? 36.7 meter per second. Students, here I have written 2 points I have written which should be noted to solve this type of sum. In equations of motion, S is displacement. You must have understood in this sum, S is displacement, not the distance. As when you applied motion from A to C, displacement was taken 49.05, right? Minus. Whereas the distance was A to BH plus B to AH plus B, then 49.05. So always S is displacement in these equations of motion. Second point which we should remember is that in direct method, what we have taken in this problem, acceleration is taken based on initial direction of motion. So rest all displacement position, you have taken it correctly based on the concepts given to you, then you will take acceleration based on initial direction of motion. Like here, during the journey from A to C, there will be two instants. Now we are coming to the next part of the sum. Time required for the velocity to attain the magnitude of 9.81 meter per second. Now, when the particle is thrown up with 19.62 meter per second, at t velocity becomes 0. So during its upward motion, somewhere velocity will be 9.81 up. Here velocity is 0. Here velocity is 36.71. So during its downward motion also, there should be one instant when the velocity is 9.81 down. So student, for fifth part of the sum, you will get two answers. One is the time when the velocity is 9.81 up. Second answer is then velocity is 9.81 down. So that's what I have written it here, students. This arrow, you can see that during the journey from A to C, there will be two instants when the velocity will be magnitude 9.81. One while going up, another is going down. Now we take sign convention up positive, V is equal to U plus AT. V is 9.81 when the velocity is up, U is 19.62 minus 9.8 acceleration negative into T dash. So after 1 second, velocity is 9.81 up. Next part, we are considering the time right from the beginning at A when it was thrown up with velocity 19.62 meter per second. It's V is equal to U plus AT, use 19.62, acceleration is minus 9.81 into T double dash. This is the notation what I have given to in the problem. T dash is the time when velocity is 9.81 up. T double dash is the time when the velocity is 9.81 down. Okay, so here V will be in the first part we wrote plus 9.81. In the second part we wrote V as 9.81 minus. So t dash is 3 seconds. That means after 3 seconds, velocity is 9.81 down. So students, we could get the, using v is equal to u plus at, I could get the time when the velocity was 9.811. So it will be somewhere between A and B when velocity is. Between B and C, somewhere velocity will be 9.81 down. All right. So I read this, hence velocity will be 9.8 meter per second after 1 second and 9.1 meter per second after 3 seconds. Hence, henceforth, we are deciding that we will use direct formula as and when applicable. We will not split the motion. Suppose I had to get the total time from A to C. I don't need to split the motion. Or I want to find the velocity with which it hits the ground. There is no need to split the motion. Next, students, we take question number 12. We take question number 12. A ball is thrown vertically upwards at 30 meters per second from the top of the tower, 100 meters high. 5 seconds later, another ball B is thrown upward from the base of the tower along the same vertical line. We show the vertical line slightly different in the diagram, but it is along the same line. Base of the tower along the same vertical line at 50 meters per second. Find when and where they meet and their instantaneous velocities. Now, students, I've shown a tower of 100 meters height. Ball A is thrown vertically up at 30 meters per second. All right. 5 seconds later, another ball is thrown from the base of the tower at 50 meters per second. We assume that they meet somewhere. Yeah, we meet somewhere. Now, first we take motion of ball A. I'm considering the motion, time available to ball A is t second. Assuming that time available to ball A is t second, s is equal to ut plus half a square. Its final position, we take initial motion is upward. So I took upward positive. When I write s is equal to ut plus half a square, what it comes? S will be minus h, 30 into t minus half into 9.81 into t square. This is what is one equation. Now we come to ball B. Ball B, when we take it up, again I'm writing the same equation. We take upward positive as ball B is initially thrown upward. S is equal to ut plus half its square. What is S for ball B? It is 100 minus h positive. Initial velocity is 50. Time available to ball B is t minus 5. Time available to ball is t minus 5. If you solve equation number 2 and 1, 1 is this equation, 2 is this equation, these two equations, if you subtract 2 from 1, h gets eliminated. It becomes a quadratic equation for t. If you solve it, t comes out to be 6.85 seconds. That means at t is equal to 6.85 seconds, ball A meets the ball B. Now, to find the height of the tower, we can put the value of t in equation number 1. If you put the value of t in equation number 1, you get height of the tower h as 24.65 from the top of the tower. The value of h is 24.65 from the top of the tower, or 100 minus 24.65, that is 75.35 from the base of the tower. He is asking you to find out the velocity with which they meet. For ball A, I take upward positive, B is equal to u plus 80. B is VA, u is 30 minus 9.81 into 6.85. You get minus 37.18. That means it is not upward, it is downward. And obviously, we have understood that ball A is meeting at this point when it was going down. So 37.81 meter per second is its velocity downward. When we talk about ball B, again the same equation, V is equal to u plus 80. V is VB, initial velocity is 50 minus 9.81 into time t. Time t will be available to time available to ball B is 5 seconds lesser than the time available to ball A. So time of ball B is 6.85 minus 5, that comes out to 31.85 meter per second. All right. Now, students, another important type of sum where you'll understand some more concepts. Let's read this sum. Stone is dropped from the balloon at an altitude of 600 meters. How much time is required for the stone to reach the ground? Four conditions are given. When the balloon is ascending with a velocity of 10 meters per second. Second, descending with a velocity of 10 meters per second. Third, third, stationary. Fourth, ascending with a velocity of 10 meters per second and acceleration of 1 meter per second square, neglect air resistance. Students, when parent bodies like balloon, helicopter, aeroplane, missile, etc. are moving in the sky, in some direction and some object like stone is released from there, the stone will carry its initial velocity or velocity of the parent body at that instant as an instantaneous effect, and subsequent motion of the stone will be under there. In this problem, whether the balloon is going up or down with some velocity at certain instant, we will be considering its instantaneous effect as the initial velocity of the stone. And once the stone is detached from the balloon, it has nothing to do with the motion of balloon. It is purely under the influence of gravity. Now we take first case in the problem. In the first case, either the balloon was ascending at a velocity of 10 meter and something stone is dropped from there. So that means what is the initial velocity of the stone will be 10 meter per second. That means it is as good as somebody has thrown a stone with the velocity of 10 meter per second upward at an altitude of 600 meter. I have to find the total time what it takes in reaching the ground surface. So I should write which equation? S is equal to ut plus half a square. Under direct method, we'll take upward positive. S will be minus 600. Why minus 600? Since initially stone is thrown upward and final position is below. So S is minus 600. Acceleration will be based on initial direction, that is upward, right? And upward is positive, but this is minus. Why we have taken it minus? Since acceleration due to gravity is downward, and it is taken based on initial direction of motion. Since we are assuming it upward, so we'll write minus. So if you solve it, you get T. That means in this case, stone will take 12.13 seconds to reach the ground surface. Now we come to second case. In the second case, balloon was descending with the velocity of 10 meter per second at an altitude of 600 meters. This means it is as good as somebody has thrown the stone with a velocity of 10 meter per second from an altitude of 600 meter. Now we again write S equal to ut plus half a square. This time we have taken downward positive. Acceleration due to gravity is also downward, so acceleration will be plus this time. Displacement is also plus in the same direction, downward. Initial velocity is also downward, and into the acceleration. So entire equation, all terms will be positive. We solve this quadratic equation, you get the value of T as 10.1 second. That means at 10.1 second, particle or stone reaches the ground in this case. Third case is when balloon is stationary. Now student, when the balloon is stationary and if the stone is dropped from there, so velocity of balloon, stone will be same as that of balloon or not? But in this case, it will be considered as good as the stone is thrown with zero velocity. That means it is dropped. It is dropped. In third case, when the balloon is stationary and stone is dropped from it, it is as good as somebody has dropped the stone with zero velocity when it was altitude of 600 meters. We write the equation S is equal to ut plus half a square. S will be plus 600. Initial velocity 0. Acceleration will be plus. Since initial direction is downward, we took downward positive. So you got 11.06 seconds. Fourth case is same as case 1. Why? In the fourth case, if you read it, balloon was ascending with the velocity of 10 meter per second acceleration. See, what is the velocity acceleration of balloon? We have nothing to do. Acceleration of balloon will not be carried forward or will not be affecting the motion of stone once it reaches, it is detached from the balloon. So first case and fourth case are same. First case and fourth case are same. It is the fourth case will be same as case 1, where the stone is thrown vertically up with 10 meter per second and subsequent motion is under the influence of gravity. And acceleration of 1 meter per second square, which is given about the balloon, it is going to affect the motion of balloon, not the motion of stone, which is detached. When the stone is detached, its motion is under gravity. Its motion is under gravity. All right, students, now we have reaching to the last sum. This is problem number 14. I'm taking students right now. This type of problems are also asked sometimes in examinations. In flood relief area, a helicopter going vertically up with a constant velocity drops first batch of food packets, which takes 4 seconds to reach the ground. No sooner this batch reaches the ground, second batch of food packet is released, and this batch takes 5 seconds to reach the ground. From what height was the first batch released, and also determine the velocity with which the helicopter is moving on. Students, first I'm assuming that helicopter is moving up with constant velocity. All right. Now, food packets are dropped from there. Food packets are dropped, but food packets will carry the velocity with it. Food packets will carry the velocity. As the helicopter was going up with velocity u upward, it is as good as the food packets are thrown vertically upward with the velocity u. Food packets will go up till velocity becomes zero at this point, then they'll start falling under gravity. Throughout the motion is under gravity. So here, first batch we take upward positive, right? S equal to ut plus half it, S will be minus h, acceleration will be minus, since we take upward positive under direct method. You get minus h is equal to 4u minus 8. Now, the second batch. What is said about the second batch of the food packet is released 4 seconds after the first batch reaches the ground. That means during those 4 seconds, helicopter is going up or not. Helicopter is going up with constant velocity. So distance covered by the helicopter in 4 seconds will be u into 4 or not. Distance covered between the two droppings. The second batch of food packet is dropped after 4 seconds from the drop of first batch. So during that 4 seconds, helicopter was not stationary. It was going up with constant velocity u. So distance covered by the helicopter in 4 seconds is u into 4, that is 4. This is what has been described here. During the 4 second period, helicopter will go up by distance u to 4 u h. Now the second batch of food packets is released from here, right? It takes 5 seconds to reach the ground. Again, we write s equal to ut plus half it square, taking down upward positive. So displacement will be negative since final position is below. H plus 4. U into 5 minus half into G10 into 5 square, you get second equation. You have first equation, you have second equation. You can solve this equation, you get U and H. By solving equation number 1 and 2, you have arrived at U is equal to 9 meter per second and H is equal to 44 meter. Right? So initially when the first batch was released or dropped, helicopter was at height of 44 meter and it was going up with a constant velocity of 9 meter per second. Students, in this part of dynamics lecture, we covered rectilinear motion at constant acceleration, including the concepts of rectilinear motion at constant velocity. This chapter of kinematics of particle part 1, in which we are covering the rectilinear motion, we are going to cover this chapter in 3 lectures. The first lecture of mine today, what I have taken, it was rectilinear motion at constant acceleration, including the problems of acceleration due to gravity. My next lecture on this chapter will be rectilinear motion at varying acceleration. All right, then there will be one more lecture that will be solving the problems of rectilinear motion with the help of motion diagram. So this is going to be our first chapter or first stage learning of dynamics. I have covered 14 problems which are quite sufficient to understand the concepts of rectilinear motion at constant acceleration, but still there are many more problems which are given in my book. और भी solved problems are दिए हैं. There are unsolved problems भी book के अंदर दिए हैं. Book, if you buy this book is available on Amazon. All right, description the book is given in the beginning. All right, description of these videos, lecture video list, it is given. Right, you can buy it from the Amazon. The very important thing, which is very important, that in my book I have covered the entire theory part as well as MCQ. वो बहुत important है. Multiple choice questions भी दिए हैं. Multiple choice questions सब chapters के end में multiple choice questions भी मैंने book के अंदर दिए. कोई और book के अंदर multiple choice questions नहीं है. सब book पुराने pattern पे लिखी हुई है. All books available in the market are written on the old pattern, so there are no MCQ given. There is no book in which so many problems have been covered on each part. 14 problems I have covered in this lecture. Students will not find that a unique college teacher will not cover even 5 problems also. Some of the teachers will say that you have studied it at previous level only. But yes, we will not do that. We'll cover all types of the problems in my video lectures also. All right, you can, this video lectures, students, are free to all. You can share the QR code with your friends also. They should also be benefited. Buying the book or not buying the book, it is your choice, but at least everybody, I want that everybody should be benefited with my video lectures. All right, one more request to you all, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you will continuously, you'll be keep getting the updates when the new video lecture is video is uploaded. So जो भी नए lecture मैं upload करूंगा,
उसका आपको एक नोटिफिकेशन आ जाएगा। तो इसके लिए सब्सक्राइब करके रखेंगे चैनल को, तो आपको इसका बहुत ज्यादा बेनिफिट होगा, क्योंकि हर वीक एटलीस्ट वी प्लान टू अपलोड अराउंड 2 lectures per week, so that we will be in a position to upload the entire lectures or all lectures or covering the entire syllabus by end of February. Okay, students, thank you very much.